Hello and welcome back to the channel once again. Today we have a first impressions look at Conqueror's Blade, a free-to-play tactical action MMO. Whether you're taking part in a massive siege battle or expanding your empire with trade routes, seizing more land or upgrading new castles, you'll be doing it in a constantly changing world with and against other players. Today's video is sponsored by My.Games. They've asked us to check out the game with its newest update, almost out, as the game prepares to enter Season 2, Wrath of the Nomads. So what better reason to make a first impressions video on this game as a whole, as well as the new updates, and see how the game is doing at the end of its first season. Be sure to follow our links in the description so they know we sent you. There's some free goodies for new players available with the current promotion. Let's jump straight in by creating a character, which starts with how all good MMOs start, with a character customizer, obviously. It's fairly straightforward. I can't write home about this one. You have a reasonable selection of faces and hair types and such to choose from. It's not crazy in depth, but it does give your character some, well, character. But here's the part we care about: choosing your weapon, which will function as your class. Conqueror's Blade will start you off with a pretty hefty tutorial, I've got to say. There's a lot of systems in this game, and it definitely would be very overwhelming for a new player to, let's say, just be taught basic abilities in combat, then pushed out into the world. It's an MMO. But we start with the combat training itself, giving you a chance to try out each of the 10 weapon types, which all come with their own playstyles and abilities. You can choose between the melee weapons, which are poleaxe, longsword and shield, spear, dual blade, the glaive, a short sword and shield, a Nodachi samurai sword, which is what I picked, and the free ranged weapon types that are the short bow, the bow, and finally the musket, which, yeah, that's a gun. I'll take 6 of those, please. Turns out this gun isn't quite an assault rifle. You'll have to reload it between those heavy hits. Each class will come with its own kit, though, a set of potential abilities that you unlock via a talent tree system. You're obviously going to unlock those talent points by playing and leveling up and working your way to those new abilities, or upgrading attacks and getting passive bonuses too. On top of that, everyone will get a block or secondary move and an all-important iframe dodge roll, which I couldn't live without a dodge roll, not in my Souls-like lifestyle. As we progress through the training site, we'll be taught all about the units. These are the in-combat squad that you command, which come in apparently over 55 variations and styles, which is pretty wild, but I think it's easier to understand them in their 3 main roles. You've got the melee units, the ranged units, and the mounted units, all coming with their own formations and combat purposes, which you can control on the fly, like I said, in combat. And let me tell you, in my first PvP match, I abused this to the maximum against other new players. It's really simple and cool in action. Swap between the formations at will, bring the camera up high to position the units, and have them defend or attack whoever that you want. And it's really intuitive. I didn't have any issues planning out how I wanted to approach or defend the next fight. Later in the tutorial, we'll be shown how to use siege weaponry, be it the big siege towers that climb over walls, battering rams to protect while they smash open the gates, or some big old ballista to shoot some enemies with big AoE attacks. I'm also happy to say mounted combat is in the game too, and it works pretty smoothly. Just pull out your mount with a button press, start charging around. You can be a pretty deadly killing machine on a mount, but you got to be careful. If you get too entrenched and stuck in a wall of soldiers, you're not going to get out of that. Let's jump past the tutorial bit though and enter the world, which we're going to be shoved out into with a choice of 4 major regions, each laid out in a different visual landscape. This is a very Mount and Blade feel. You kind of roam the land, have different random events and encounters like roaming bandits or abandoned wagons or structures to loot. You'll travel to different hubs and meet different factions. It's also a really good way to gather resources for crafting or upgrading your units or building up the army. Naturally, a well-trained and experienced soldier is going to be a lot better in battle than a peasant with a pitchfork, I'm just saying. In my first hub, Tarul Varos, God, I hope I said that right, I finished up the tutorial by meeting the different merchants and NPCs in town. You've got someone to sort your horses, you've got a market, blacksmith, that kind of thing. And the towns are filled with players, which I'm really happy to see. It's really active. All running around, minding their own business, having duels. You can message anyone or trade with other players. That man climbed on that rooftop while on his horse. Alongside all of that is the sheriff, who will be the guy that you go to jump into battles via matchmaking. This is where I got into my first PvP, which was in a field battle. There's a bunch of battle modes, so let me tell you about them. The field battle is a smaller scale fight, a capture the point mode with and against other players. Just like you'd imagine, you go hold points, and the more points you have than the enemy, each kill takes away more points from them. So it's a race to put the enemy all the way down to 0 so they have no more respawns. My first game went really well, like an absolute powerhouse. I was weaving between players for critical backstabs using my sick samurai sword, dodge rolling through their attacks, stun locking with big combos using my abilities and autos in between. And my favorite part was when I got to 1v2 two other new players, and they did not respect my archers at all. Before they could run me down on their horses, I like set up in formation my archers and started shooting at them. Before they'd even dismounted, they'd lost a nice chunk of health, right? But then they totally disregarded my archers, my units, and just started attacking me. So I put myself so that their back was to my archers and just backed away blocking. And I mean, look at this poor lady getting pin cushioned with arrows. It's beautiful. In this game, I got myself a quad kill, and I even went 14-0. 14 kills, no deaths. That's a really good first game. I really like that the units matter. Like, you have to respect that when they're used effectively, they can be really deadly. You can't just run in blindly swinging into 20 guys with spears and not expect to get, well, speared. I did also get to try out the siege mode too, where you attack or defend 5 points around a base. I landed myself as a defender in my first game in this mode, and I ended up using a ballista to smash a pack of enemies while they were scaling up the walls. But I do admit we got pretty overwhelmed on these walls. It's pretty important to stick together with other players and their big packs of units too. So keep an eye out on your own unit's health, because if they're all dead, you'll be on your own. You can get killed very quickly. You can visit supply points around the maps to heal them up or even swap out units mid-game. As we level up though, we'll unlock more PvP modes and maps on grander scales too. I got some footage here of some of the bigger battles to show, and it looks outrageous. The height of it and the size of some of the city battles look really good. I'm currently level 18, and at 20 you unlock expeditions. It's a PvE mode to beat with other players on your team. They look like the big siege battles, but against AI specifically, so perhaps this will be a good way to practice these bigger, grander scale sieges, or just farm out resources in a more relaxed way between real PvP matches. Territory wars occur at set times. They affect the land around the world. So if you actually look at the map, you see all the different colors, the different factions. These factions are decided by houses and AI groups that are constantly at war trying to expand and steal regions. The houses in the game basically function as guilds, a big group of players forming together to share resources or take part in these territory wars. I joined one pretty easily. There's an entire tab dedicated to perusing who's out there and what houses there are. Most of them have descriptions to say what kind of people they are, what language they play in, and they have discords too to organize their battles. Plus, houses can form alliances with other houses to help fight out against bigger factions and enemies that they might be dealing with. And finally, I should also mention the deathmatch mode, which is something you unlock when you hit level 10. You can take part in a straight deathmatch. No units, no crazy siege battle, it's just the first to reach 30 kills. I am quite glad they added a mode like this to engage those raw PvP players. No objectives or units to worry about or play around, just straight duels, right? Though that's not what this game is about, it's definitely an important aspect of it that I care about, and this will be a good place to practice real duels. Speaking of units though, they come with their own talents. Just like you, as you progress and level up your talent tree or gain attribute points to spend in passive bonuses, your units will also get better too, and they have their own talents too. You can upgrade them how you want, whether you want to give them more damage, more health, that kind of thing. So as you unlock more units of these many, like I said, there was 55 different types, you'll need to train them up as well and give them more experience. Your first units that you've used a lot might actually be better than like this new special unit you've just unlocked but hasn't seen any battle yet. You might have noticed as well while we've been playing and doing different stuff that I progressed and changed armor, and my horse looks a lot cooler too now. That's because the game has a pretty varied cosmetic system in place, allowing you to wear different sets or pieces that are actually separate from the real armor or weapons that you're wearing. So if you don't want to look like Peasant 67 while leveling up, you don't have to, but I'm pretty sure most of these cosmetics will be microtransaction based. There is ones that you can get from the battle pass though, that's season based in play, which you'll just progress and unlock by playing the game. And there are special cosmetics linked to each season, which is actually important to the big update coming on December 19th, which is why they asked us to check out the game for the channel now. Since season 2 is about to start, It's called Wrath of the Nomads. They're adding more units known as the Sons of the Steppes, which were inspired by Mongolian warriors, and this season Battle Pass is about to drop too, which will have lots of new missions and season-exclusive Nomad cosmetics to unlock, basically. With the new season, there's going to be 3 new battlefields come into play too, and a bunch of quality of life improvements as well. Apparently, we're going to get more matchmaking features, some UI improvements, NPC houses, a rank system, player titles, and other stuff too. As part of this new season, they're basically doing a promotion for it. So all new players who sign up at the moment get a gold helmet, so everyone's going to look really shiny. You're going to get free unit XP cards to help you level up your units, free Battle a Hero XP cards, which help level up your character, and free Hawacha arrow launchers, which are like these heavy siege weapons that do silly damage in battle, but you only get free, so save them for a good moment. So just follow the link in our description when you sign up and register to participate in the event. So as a new player, this equipment should give you a good head start. Anyway, let's have a conclusion on the game. What do I think about it after my first impressions today? Well, I definitely really like the smooth mesh of RPG hack and slash combat against other players. While tactically controlling units to your advantage, it just feels good whether it's on grand or small scale. The siege battles feel important and relevant rather than nice filler in the background that serve no real purpose to the game mode. I can easily see someone who enjoys Mount & Blade getting a kick out of this, or maybe even a For Honor player who wants more tactical siege stuff rather than just duels. It's definitely a unique game, and I can't say there are many out there like this one, so I'm actually very happy I got to check it out. For a free-to-play game, I really appreciate it. Which, to be honest, shouldn't come as a shock. We wouldn't do a sponsored video on a game we didn't like. Though I can't say this is the perfect game, of course. I'd love to see some animation refinement in the future, maybe in the season update. Sometimes things can look a little clunky, like someone running around on their horse sideways, or when I'm loading into a new area, I occasionally hit that insanely powerful T-pose in the air while everything loads in. Stun locking in PvP is super deadly. If multiple players gang up on you with their abilities timed correctly, you can be burst down really easily without really having any say in it. An easy fix for this would just be adding more consistent slows to every weapon class, to basically make up for letting people roll out of stun locks. And finally, I'd love to hear some new voice work added to the champions the players are using. Sometimes it feels like there's only 3 sound files for each gender. I hear the same grunts and yells a lot everywhere. None of these complaints are particularly important, but I did notice these in my first impressions. But you'll have to let me know what you think of the game. I don't know if we've got any max level players in the comments, but maybe you'll be able to answer some end game content questions for us. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and I will see you next time.